What shall we talk about?
Well,
what do you think is the most important thing that we three can talk about?
well, the one thing, I've had an idea lately, and there's one thing that's been on my mind, and I've been getting it from, when we talked before, and that is there's a feeling you've been conveying that life comes first, and not thought or work. Something like that. In other words, that I find in myself, and I think that most people are caught up in the fact that it seems, I can't, you said once, we live second-hand lives. If we could talk about that, I think the second-handness of our life.
What do you...
Well, in relation to that, I perhaps would like to talk about the question of wholeness.
Yes, I would.
That
Shall we talk about that first?
which first?
And then include yours?
Sure. I think this is part of it. I see that the second-handness is not wholeness.
Quite. I wonder how we can approach this question. Knowing that most people are fragmented, broken up, and not whole, how do we tackle or approach this question?
Through direct awareness of the fragmentation.
No, I would like to, I'm just asking
Yeah.
because are we discussing it theoretically,
No. No.
verbally, or taking ourselves,
Yeah.
we three, taking ourselves as we are,
Right.
and examining what we mean by fragmented.
Right.
And then work from there, what is the whole? Not
Right.
theoretically or verbally.
Right.
Then I think that have vitality, that has some meaning.
Right. Right. If we see the fragmentation, the wholeness is there. Or will it be?
Don't assume anything.
Oh, that's what
Going,
I'm saying. Right.
going a
Right.
bit
That's
too
true.
fast. Huh?
Then we are off to theory.
Okay. Right. Right.
We've been talking with a lot of students here, this question. Dr. Bohm was there too. And whether we can ever be aware of ourselves at all. Or we are only aware of patches, not the totality of fragmentations. I don't know if I'm conveying this.
No, you can. You go ahead. Yeah.
Can one be aware, conscious, know the various fragments? Or examining one by one by one by one. And who is the examiner? Is he also a fragment who has assumed an authority? So when we talk about being aware of fragments, socially, morally, ethically, religiously, business, art, the whole activity is fragmented. Is one aware of the movement of these fragments?
Yeah.
Or do you take one fragment and examine it? Or say, yes, I am aware of that, and not the many. You follow what I'm saying?
I'm following you. I think you're mostly aware of I seem to, when I think of what you're saying, I seem to be aware of a kind of many fragments.
Are you?
Well, not one at a time, spread like that, like a machine gun.
Yes. So you are really aware one by one.
Right. And caught up by the movement of the fragment.
One by one.
Right.
Is that so? Are you sure that it is so?
Yes, I think, it seems to be, that, well, then sometimes you can take a step back, or you seem to take a step back, or I seem to take a step back, and I'm aware of these
No,
many.
when Dr. Bohm asked, can't we talk over together this question of wholeness, which implies holiness, health, sanity, and all that. I wonder from what source he's asking that question.
Yes. You mean, is he coming from a fragmented position, or is he coming from a whole position?
No, if he is asking from the whole position, there is no
Right.
question.
So,
So I'd like to, if one may ask, are we aware of the fragments as a whole? Take a collection of fragments, or are we aware one fragment at each time? What do you say?
Well, in general, the thing presents itself first as primarily one fragment,
One fragment at a
with a
time.
background of all the other fragments, perhaps dimly present. I mean, in the beginning, that one fragment seems to take emphasis or preeminence in awareness.
doesn't that one fragment out quickly into many little fragments? I have an idea, and then that idea is in contrast to another idea, so I'm immediately caught up into two fragments there. And then I have another idea which is the repetition of that first idea, so I'm caught up in a movement of fragments rather than, I mean, my attitude is fragmented, my relationship is fragmented, my very substance of movement is a feeling of fragmentation. I don't have any center when I'm fragmented. I'm not
sure about that.
I feel
That's the question.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not at all sure
no.
that there is no center when you are fragmented.
Well, I think definitely there is a center.
There is.
Because, I mean, that is the major fragment
Major
you're aware
fragment, that's right.
of. I mean, that...
Well, then let's go into that more.
Well, I just think that there is a center which you may sense anywhere, say here or here.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the center of everything, right? Everything that's connected to everything, right?
Well, I see what you're saying, but I feel that when the fragmentation is going on, it's like the center is looking for itself. There feels like it's not a center.
Are you aware of the fragmentation? Not fragmentation is going on.
No, you're not. I'm not.
Then what are we aware of?
I think that's a terrific question, because I think when there's fragmentation, what we're aware of is like being sucked forward into more fragments. In other words, there's a kind of movement of more fragmentation, which is what we're aware of. It's what you've talked about in terms of pleasure. It's like pleasure is pulling us forward into more fragments. This would give me pleasure, that would give me pleasure, that would give me pleasure. And it's that feeling of pieces.
Before we go into the question of pleasure,
Yeah.
are we aware, actually, from a center which says I am fragmented? That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. That's the question.
Well, we're both aware of a